All right. Shalom, y'all. Shalom, y'all. Bashim, y'all. Shah Brakah. To all my brothers. Y'all, Shamalata, Bashim, y'all. Shah. To my sisters. Peace, Nasa, Dawa Shah. But Isupk. Started 1 West 125th Street under Commander Jenny Hanna. It's the Florida Tuesday night class where we're going to touch on Brotherhood. The topic on Brotherhood is going to be love thy enemies, right? This is something that we commonly heard probably coming from the Christian church or whatever religious background you was in, or whatever you might have heard in the world as well, talking about love thy enemies. And they usually push it to mean that when Christ stated that he was talking about everybody on the planet Earth. You know what I'm saying? That you should love your oppressors. You should love the nations that conquered us and destroyed us as a people. You know what I'm saying? And just join with everybody and be one together. You know what I'm saying? That's not what Christ was talking about, and that's not who Christ addressed that to. So we're going to get more understanding of that. Let's just first get it where Christ said it himself. So let's start at Matthew 5 and 54.
Okay.
All right. You go ahead and get it. Or some
You
have 5 and 40. My bad. 5 and 43.
Colonel Khan. The book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 40. And if any man will sue thee at the law and take away thy coat, let him have thy cloak also. And whosoever shall compel thee to go a mile, go with him twain. Give to him that asks thee, and from him that would borrow of thee, turn not thou away. Ye have heard that it hath been said, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy.
Mm-hmm. So
But I say, Shalaki, sir.
If I could just pause you there real quick, where is that stated at in the Bible? Right? He's speaking to somebody, to a certain group of people, and he's saying, you have heard, you know what I'm saying, to love thy neighbor. Where is that written at?
Shalaki, sir.
Go ahead.
Leviticus chapter 19, verse 17 through 19.
Kyle, let's grab that real quick.
Okay.
The brother's very right on it. You know what I'm saying? The brother's correct. You know what I'm saying? That's written in our law. This is a law that was only given to the 12 tribes of Israel, which is you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. You know what I'm saying? You are the children of Israel. Right?
Okay.
And the Lord, you got it? You got it?
Okay.
All right, Kyle, 1 second, right? So the Lord gave us these laws for us to follow. You know what I'm saying? He didn't give these laws to nobody else. So when Christ is referring to the law, he's only speaking to people that know what he's referring to. You know what I'm saying? Because this law was not given to the Romans or to the Japanese, African, Chinese, or any other nation on this earth, but you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. You know what I'm saying? So when he's speaking this, he's only speaking it to a people who can understand what he's referring to. You know what I'm saying? So go ahead and read that for me, Warrior.
The book of Leviticus chapter 19, verse 17.
Mm-hmm.
Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him.
Mm-hmm.
Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people.
Of who?
Of thy people.
Of who?
Of thy people.
So your neighbor is who then?
Thy, Salaki, sir, thy people.
Thy people. That's what the Bible is clearly telling you, man. Your neighbor is not the person that lives next door to you, right? Oh, give me 1 second, y'all. Real quick. Can you still hear me?
All
right, 1 second.
It's froze though on your video.
All right. 1 second. All right. All right. All right. So the neighbors that it's talking about is not the person that just lives right next door to you. You know what I'm saying? The neighbor that the Bible is referring to is the people of your own race, of your own nationality. You know what I'm saying? And this law is written to the 12 tribes of Israel. So when Christ is referring to this, he's referring to only to the 12 tribes of Israel because that's who Christ came for. Christ did not come for everybody on planet Earth. He did not die for everybody on this earth, man. You know what I'm saying? Christ only came for his people. And he tried to unify his people after them being scattered and destroyed for not keeping the laws of the Most High. You know what I'm saying? So let's go jump back to Matthew, where we was at in Matthew 5. Go ahead.
Matthew, the book of Matthew, chapter 5, and verse 44. But I say unto you, love your enemies.
To do what?
Love your enemies.
Most Christian churches or most pastors will just stop right there and get on a ranting spree about how we should love our oppressor. You know what I'm saying? Or how we should try to join ourselves unto our oppressors. You know what I'm saying? And us doing that, you know, we have practiced that for over 400 years in America. We try to join our oppressors, try to be one with them. You know what I'm saying? Try to march and beg for civil rights and all these things. You know what I'm saying? But we have not got, you know what I'm saying? We have become even more destroyed by integrating with our oppressors. You know what I'm saying? When the Bible teaches us how to be separate and to unify, you know what I'm saying, with each other. But the more we try to love our enemies in these other nations, the more we start to hate our own. You know what I'm saying? And that's what happened during the civil rights movement. We lost the love for each other. You know what I'm saying? We lost the love for each other. That's why we see us in the condition that we in today. You know what I'm saying? We have no brotherhood amongst one another. You know what I'm saying? Because we poured out all our love and all our greatness about ourselves and everything that we have about us. And we gave it to our enemies. And we gave it to our oppressors, man. You know what I'm saying? In return, that taught us something evil against us. That taught us how to hate the next black man instead of giving your love to a so-called black, Hispanic, and Native Indian. You know what I'm saying? So this is what Christ came to do. This is what Christ died for, that the 12 tribes of Israel become one again, one nation. That so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians commend the differences, you know what I'm saying, and stop killing each other, you know what I'm saying, stop fighting each other and unifying them and teaching them their true identity and teaching them who their enemies truly are. You know what I'm saying? Because me, a so-called black man, I'm not the enemy of the next Hispanic. You know what I'm saying? A black man and a Hispanic man should not be enemies, man. You know what I'm saying? We should look at each other as brothers.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's what the Lord said is that we are brothers. We are one nation. All right. So when Christ is saying this, he's speaking to the Israelites to unify them to become one nation, right? All right. Continue on for me, Roy.
Khan, sir. Love your enemies. Bless them that curse you. Do good to them that hate you. And pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you.
Right. So before we break that verse down, right, let's get some context and some understanding of why would Christ say this to the Israelites in the first place, right? It's very important to know what was going on at the time of Christ, when Christ was walking the earth. You know what I'm saying? What was going on in history? You know what I'm saying? So let's go ahead and get some more understanding so we can know why Christ is saying this to the Israelites, right? Let me get Deuteronomy 28:1.
Khan.
All right, you go ahead.
28:1.
Yeah, 28:1.
Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 1. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Most High, thy power, will set thee on high above all nations of the earth.
Right. So the Most High told us, listen, if you keep these commandments, including the commandments such as love thy neighbor as thyself, you know what I'm saying, to hold no grudge against thy brother. If you keep all the commandments by not eating pork, you know what I'm saying, not doing any evil against your own brother, you know what I'm saying, and breaking these commandments that's written of in this Bible, the Lord would set us above all nations that's on the earth. You know what I'm saying? These all nations that it's talking about is these nations that you see today. That's destroying, that's in your neighborhood, that's taking advantage of you, that's setting up shop in your block. You know what I'm saying? And you're not reaping none of the wealth or none of the benefit from it. You know what I'm saying? You at the bottom right now in captivity in America because we didn't keep the commandments of the Most High. You know what happened? All these nations came on top of us. They came over us. They rule over so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. You know what I'm saying? You are treated worse, far more worse than any other nation here in America. You know what I'm saying? You don't see Habibi and them, even though they're labeled, you know, they come from a nation that's at war with America, you know, classified as terrorists. But yet you don't see them getting pulled out of their car, shot in the streets by a police officer, them mistaking them for having a gun. You know what I'm saying? That's only happened to so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. You don't see no Chinese immigrants being locked in cages. You know what I'm saying? You don't see no other immigrant at all in America being locked in cages. You know what I'm saying? Or being deported, you know what I'm saying, by the masses. It's only happening to the so-called Mexicans, man, and to the so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. You know why? Because you are the chosen people of God. You know what I'm saying? The Most High chose you to be above all the nations on this earth. Everybody, you're supposed to be ruling this planet Earth by keeping his laws. You know what I'm saying? Well, this is what the Lord told the children of Israel, right? Read on.
Verse 2. And all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the power of the Most High thy power.
Right, meaning keeping the commandments. Now jump me down to 15, Baba Kashab.
Verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Most High thy power, to observe, to do all his commandments,
To do
and
what?
his statutes, to do all his commandments.
That's talking about all his commandments. Everything that's written on this in this book has nothing to do with religion. You will not find Christianity in this book. Being a Catholic, being a Baptist, you know what I'm saying? This book is about laws, statutes, and commandments that was only given to one nation and one nation only. You know what I'm saying? And that nation is the children of Israel, or the 12 tribes of Israel, which is you so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Now he's giving them an ultimatum. He's letting them know, listen, if you keep my commandments, I'll give you rulership on this earth. You know what I'm saying? I'll put you above every other nation on this earth. You know what I'm saying? And the same token, in the second hand, he said, if you don't keep it, you know what I'm saying? If we don't follow it, right? We're going to read what the Lord is going to do to us. You know what I'm saying? You don't have free will or freedom when it comes to serving the Most High. You know what I'm saying? And with this, you're going to understand what Christ was talking about when he said, love thy enemies, right? You know?
To observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
Curses, man. All these curses. What is it? What is a curse? What is that talking about according to the Bible?
Salaga, sir, something bad that'll come on you, that'll happen to you as a people, something that will
Right. Well,
hurt.
what's a simple way of saying it?
Salaki,
Come on,
is it a judgment?
right. Judgment, punishment.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The Lord is saying, if you don't keep his commandments, you know what I'm saying, he will punish you. You know what I'm saying? The sister said death. You know what I'm saying? Correct. You know what I'm saying? We are being destroyed. You know what I'm saying? We are being destroyed because we are not keeping the commandments of the Most High. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to read these punishments. We're going to read certain of them in particular, showing how we became destroyed even in the time of Christ. You know what I'm saying? When Christ was walking on this earth, the children of Israel was not, keeping the commandments. They were not in rulership. They wasn't over all the nations. If that was the case, there would have been no point of Christ coming. You know what I'm saying? When Christ was walking this earth, we was destroyed at that time. You know what I'm saying? That was the time of the Roman occupation. That's when the Romans were ruling over Israel. We was in captivities under the Romans. You know what I'm saying? So Christ had to come and redeem his people from this death and from the curses of Most High. And the only way we're going to get free from the curses or the punishment of the Most High, if we come back to the law, statute, and commandments.
Right.
All right. So let's continue on, Woody.
God, verse 16. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field.
Mm-hmm.
Cursed shall thou be, Salaki. Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep. Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out.
All right. This is what's happening amongst so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. You know what I'm saying? We are the ones that's being cursed in our cities. You know what I'm saying? In our neighborhoods, getting high on drugs. You know what I'm saying? Being destroyed by drugs, getting shot in the streets. You know what I'm saying? Living in poverty. You know what I'm saying? Not even having clean water to drink from. You know what I'm saying? Picking all the vegetables and the fruits, but not even receiving none of the benefits from it. Not having your own stores that you can go to. Being hired by your own. You know what I'm saying? All of these things are affecting us. Meanwhile, these other nations, that's not happening to them in their neighborhoods. Every major city in America has a Chinatown in it. You know what I'm saying? They have a community amongst themselves where they can shop in their stores, go to their schools, their hospitals. You know what I'm saying? Their dollar circulates around their community. Meanwhile, we joined our oppressors and we lost everything in our own communities, man. We lost our businesses. We lost our own infrastructure, our own economics. All of these things we lost from joining our oppressors, man. You know what I'm saying? Well, the Lord commanded us that we should be separate, that we should not join them. We should not follow their gods. You know what I'm saying? We should not celebrate Christmas. We should not eat pork, crab, shrimp, and lobster. Celebrate Father's Day or your birthday. You know what I'm saying? That's what we did in joining these other nations. We followed their philosophies and their way of life. And for doing that, we're being punished right now. You know what I'm saying? We're being punished, right? So you can drop me down to drop me down to 25.
God. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 25. The Most High shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies.
Before who?
Before thine enemies.
Mm-hmm.
Thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them. And thou shalt be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth.
Into where?
All the kingdoms of the earth.
Right. So the Lord is letting you know one of the punishments is that you're going to be smitten before your enemies. Now, according to the scripture that we just read, right, who would be considered your enemies that the children of Israel will be smitten in front of? Who will be your enemies? That
And
verse
and
tells you
so
right there, right? Go ahead.
so long as sir, in
Hmm.
that verse, you mean all the other kingdoms?
Right. Exactly. All the other kingdoms is talking about all the other nations. And the Lord said he would smite you in front of all the other kingdoms, which is considered your enemies. And these other nations, they don't care about you. They all benefit from your destruction. Right? The transatlantic slave trade was a world economic system. I mean, majority of all the nations on this earth benefited off of your slavery, from shipping you from one continent onto another. It took a world effort in order for them to accomplish that. You know what I'm saying? You had the Arabs who built ships, the Jewish man funding it, African men gathering you up, You know what I'm saying? All the European nations reaping all the wealth and benefit from it. They was confederate against thee. They all conspired to make sure that you were destroyed. And we became destroyed in their sight, in their land. You know what I'm saying? Through captivity, being shipped across and spread out on this earth. You know what I'm saying? This is what happened to only so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Right now, we are in the land of our enemies. You know how I know? Look how we being treated on this land. You will never get equal rights by joining your enemies. You will never get treated fairly by loving those that constantly hate you. You know what I'm saying? Because once you do that, you start to lose your love for your own people. Well, Christ came to rejoin that under Commander Jenny Yohana so we can regain the love for each other. So we can be unified as a nation. Stop trying to join those that don't have no business of loving us. You don't need the white man validation on this. You know what I'm saying? All we need is each other. You know what I'm saying? A black man, Hispanic, and Native Indians, right? All right. Anything y'all brothers want to add to, y'all can go right ahead. All right, so drop me down to 48. Bubba Shah.
True, go ahead and read, Salaki.
Come, sir. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 40, 28 and 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies.
What?
Therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies,
Mm-hmm.
which the Most High shall send against thee, in hunger,
And
and
in
in
hunger
thirst,
and thirst. Read on.
and in nakedness,
Mm-hmm.
and in want of all things.
Now think about this. As a so-called black man or Hispanic man or Native Indian man, who do you go to when you start to get hungry? What stores or grocery stores that you see around your neighborhood that you can shop from when you start to get hungry? Who own those stores? You know what I'm saying? When you want some clothes to keep you warm, you know what I'm saying? Who is the one that is manufacturing some clothing? That hoodie that you want to wear. You know what I'm saying? Who the one that controls the water system in Flint, Michigan? All right, who can answer that for me?
Salaki, sir.
Salaki, sir.
I'll let the trooper go.
The so-called white man, sir.
Right. So if we going to him for everything, for food, water, clothes, what is he considered in the Bible? What does the Most High consider him to be unto us?
Salaki,
Go ahead.
our enemy.
Your enemy, man. This is a punishment from God, man. The Most High Power said that he will bring this punishment unto the children of Israel. Until this day, the so-called black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man, we go to our oppressors for everything. We ain't got no stores and no shops or no corporations that's running through the ghetto. We don't even own a damn cotton company. Seeing how much all the cotton we picked during slavery, we should have a stock in cotton. Every cotton sold across this nation, there should be a check in the mail for every black person living in America. A percentage should go on to Negroes, man. Seeing how we made this country rich and wealthy. But yet you don't get no progression or nothing from this oppressor. All you got is further destroyed by joining him. Now you go unto him for everything. Integration has destroyed us. We should have stuck together and loved each other. And guess what? We would have been in a better position than we in right now. Since we broke God's commandments and we broke God's laws, our enemies start to be over us and rule over us. All right? Read on.
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
Right. This is what your enemies did unto you. This only happened to the 12 tribes of Israel, man. Right? Read 46 real quick.
Cut on, sir.
Mm-hmm.
And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder upon thy seed forever.
Right. So the Lord is saying the punishments that we read of in this book is a sign showing who the children of Israel are. This is a symbol spiritually showing who is the children of Israel. Who are the 12 tribes of Israel? This is how you identify them, by reading through these curses. And if you could read through these punishments and these curses, and you can see that it only identifies one people on this earth. If you put simply just put two and two together, you can clearly see that it's only identifying one nation on this earth. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? That's only talking about the 12 tribes of Israel, which is you so-called Black Hispanics and Native Indians. You fit these prophecies. You're the one that's in the land of your enemies. You're the one that's being destroyed on this earth by those that hate you. All right? So let's drop that. Now let me get 64 about
Cut on, sir. Deuteronomy 28 and 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even until the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone.
All right. Somebody break this down to me. What is this talking about?
Salaki, sir.
This is another punishment or a curse from God unto the 12 tribes of Israel, right? Go ahead, soldier.
This is saying that the Lord will scatter us from our homeland, like we will be taken from our homeland. We will be scattered to every nation on the earth, every other people, and we will serve idols. We will serve things that we did not know of, that we didn't know in our own land, and we will become Muslims, Christians, Buddhists, Rastafarians. Like we will become everything else but the children of the Most High that we was.
Damn right. That's exactly right, warrior. You know what I'm saying? We'll become service unto them. Practicing their way of life, believing in their religion and their philosophies, learning under their school system and their ways of teaching. You know what I'm saying? This is what happened to the so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. right? This prophecy fit us. We were scattered through the transatlantic slave trade. You know what I'm saying? Not only the blacks was put in slavery, also the so-called Hispanics also. You know what I'm saying? And also your native brothers was conquered on this land, this very land that Columbus found them on. They was also conquered and forced into religion, forced into Christianity, forced into Islam and Buddhists and all these other gods. Christianity was not spread through love and happy and peace and let's all hold hands. That's not how Christianity was spread. They teach that now, you know what I'm saying? But in the early times of white supremacy being spread on this earth was through Christianity. Why do you think the KKK dressed like that? Why do you think they burnt crosses on your lawn? Because it was all part of the Christian church, man. You know what I'm saying? Christianity is nothing but white supremacy. It teaches the black man that the white man is superior unto you. You know how? By showing you that Jesus Christ is a so-called white boy, having that Caesar Borgia in your church, trying to show you the angels are white, that God is white, when all of that is false, according to the Bible. Not my word, but according to the Bible. You know what I'm saying? You are the real Jews. You are the 12 tribes of Israel, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. You know what I'm saying? And you are not to serve no other God but the Most High Power, the nigger God that's written of in this book. You know what I'm saying? Every other nation on this earth has a God that resembles their nationality. No other nation worship a God that don't look like them. Right? The Chinese got Buddha. Buddha looks like a Chinese man. The East Indians got Shiva. Shiva looks like an East Indian. Arabs got Allah and Muhammad. Muhammad is an Arab. You know what I'm saying? They all practice a belief system that resembles their identity and their nationality. But so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, we the only ones that serve a God that has nothing to do with us, that don't even resemble us. You know what I'm saying? We were worshiping a God that was given unto us by our oppressors, that resembles our slave masters. And this is one of the punishments of the Most High. This is one of the prophecies that happened to us, unto us. And this was prophesied all the way back in the time of head out of Egypt, was in the wilderness, and Moses running down the punishments of the Most High to the children of Israel. So if you, from that point going on to the time of Christ, throughout that whole time frame, we was not keeping the commandments. Time and time again, we broke the Most High commandments. You know what I'm saying? So Christ understood when he was speaking to his people, when he said to love thy enemies, he was not talking about the ones that's going to scatter you. He's not talking about the one that's teaching you how to sin against the Most High. That's counterproductive. How Christ is coming to teach you how to keep the commandments of the Most High and serve the Most High, but yet tell you to join the people that's teaching you to sin against the Most High. Like, what sense does that make? Christ himself said you cannot serve two masters. Either you hate the other or love the other. You know what I'm saying? Well, all these other nations, they don't love the Most High. If they did, they would not be teaching you that pork is the other white meat. They would not be teaching you that homosexuality is alternative lifestyle. They would not be teaching you about Father's Day and all these other things that's against the Most High, man. You know what I'm saying? So Christ, being a Jew, being an Israelite, came to teach his people and how to unify and keep the commandments of the Most High, right? So jump me down to verse 68.
Kind of on cancer. Verse 68. And the Most High shall bring thee unto Egypt. So like it. And the Most High shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee.
My fault, War. You can start that one more time for me again. My bad. From the top.
Come. Verse 68.
Mm-hmm.
And the Most High shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
Okay, so the Lord is saying he's going to bring the children of Israel who just left out of Egypt, who's in the wilderness, saying that he's going to bring them into Egypt again, right? Meaning a second time. But this time, he's not going to bring them into Egypt, you know what I'm saying, how they first got there in the first place. But this time, he's going to bring them with ships. If you look on any world map, you don't need a ship in order to go into Egypt. Those land masses are connected. You know what I'm saying? Even if you read how Jacob got in that land, it said that 70 souls walked into Egypt. Right? So when when the Most High is saying that he gonna bring us with ships, what is he talking about? What is that talking about?
Salaki, sir.
Go ahead.
That's talking about that he's going to bring you into captivity or into bondage. And this time, instead of like how you said, walking into it or walking out of it, you're going to be led away by ships.
By ships. So does that sound familiar? What does that sound like?
Salaki, sir.
Go ahead.
What we learn in school to be known as the transatlantic slave trade.
Damn right. This is prophesied in the Bible. The transatlantic slave trade is written of in the Bible during the time of Moses. About 6,000 some odd years ago, it was prophesied that the transatlantic slave trade would happen to the children of Israel. You know what I'm saying? And like the brother said, we went into bondage. But this time we came into this bondage, this spiritual Egypt, with ships, man. They crammed us up like sardines, one on top of each other, and sailed us all the way here to America. That's only if you survive, though. You know what I'm saying? If you got sick or was terminally ill on that ship, it would throw you overboard. If you died on that ship from all the diseases and people, they had the sisters. If she was on her cycle while she was on that ship, guess where she spelt her blood at on that ship? Guess where she had that cycle out?
Salaki, sir.
Go ahead.
If I may,
Mm-hmm.
like you're saying, what it's heavy, like you say, they throw you overboard over the ships. And they said that so many of our brothers and sisters died on that voyage from on that passage from the west coast of Africa to the Caribbeans and into the Americas that the sharks used to follow the ships.
Mm.
That they didn't even have to hunt no more. They would just follow the slave ships because so many of our people was dying that they was feeding off the bodies that was thrown overboard.
God, you know
So
what I'm
like,
saying? Yeah, they were just getting thrown overboard. You know what I'm saying? Because that system had that cycle right on top of the person that's under them. If you had to take a dump, you was taking a dump right on that person that was right there next to you. If you had to use the restroom, throw up, anything. You know what I'm saying? That's why there was so many diseases when it came over here, man. So all people were just dying on those ships, being thrown overboard. The ones that survived and made it, they was brought here to be slaves, man. To pick their cotton, work their cotton field, nurse their young, just be an all-out pet unto our oppressors, man. That's what happened to us, right? And this is a punishment from God. The Lord allowed this to happen because we broke his commandment. So what Christ came to do is to get us back in the blessings of the Most High, like we read in verse 1. All right? He tried to get us out of these curses, out of the punishment by keeping his commandments, you know what I'm saying? Like love thy brother as thyself, so we can receive the blessings of the Most High. All right? Let's continue on.
kind of on the concert. And by the way, by the way thereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again.
All right, let's pause right there real quick. What is that talking about? That's a continuation of that prophecy.
Salaki, sir.
Go ahead.
That is saying that we wouldn't see our homeland again.
Mm-hmm.
Like we
Meaning,
wouldn't see that part of the world, of the earth. Like
right.
he brought us out of Egypt, destroyed Egypt, then he brought us into our homeland. And he said that we want to see our homeland again.
Exactly that. You're exactly right, man. You know what I'm saying? We was coming out the wilderness, and Moses is telling us about the land of our forefathers. You know what I'm saying? The Lord is letting us know about this place. You know what I'm saying? It's the land of flowing of milk and honey. You know what I'm saying? We'll be able to grow crops and take care of ourselves on this land and be a nation. You know what I'm saying? But being that, you know what I'm saying, we did not keep the commandments. That place that Moses is trying to bring children of Israel to, we will not see it no more again. You know what I'm saying? And that's not only including the land mass, that's also including your identity, your language, your culture, everything that was a part of you being on that land. We lost all of that. You know what I'm saying? And we lost it not by, anything else but breaking the commandments of the Most High, by joining your oppressors and serving their gods, joining your oppressors' religion, being a Christian, being a Muslim is how we lost our identity, man. Because all of that is a sin against the Most High. It is a sin to be a Christian. It is a sin to be a Muslim. God is against both of those things, man, and every other religion that's on this earth. If you're so-called Black, Hispanic, Native Indian, you are not to be a Christian or a Muslim. You know what I'm saying? You are to come back to your true identity, who the Most High created you to be. And that's the only way we'll get out of this punishment. You know what I'm saying? But what we're reading about is one in particular that only fit one people, and that's so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, right? Let's continue on. There's some more on that too as well, right?
Come on, sir.
Go ahead.
Come on, sir. Bottom of 68.
All right.
And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for
Unto who?
bondmen unto your enemies
Mm-hmm.
for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
All right. Who was the so-called Black, Hispanic man and Native Indian man sold on to?
Salaki, sir.
Go ahead.
To the European man and the Spaniards,
Right. So
Portuguese,
if
so-called white man.
you're exactly right. So if I'm, with any basic common sense, if I put two and two together, if the Bible is saying I'm gonna be sold onto my enemies, and knowing that in history I was sold on to the European man and the Portuguese, the French, and African, Chinese, whoever that scattered us throughout the four corners of the earth, I should know by putting two together who my enemy is. You know what I'm saying? If you know that you were sold on to the white man, then what does that make the white man unto you, according to the Bible?
Salaki, sir.
Salaki,
Mm-hmm.
sir.
I'll let Oscar go real quick. You go ahead,
To
Oscar.
your, yeah.
Your enemy.
To your enemy. You should know, based off of common sense from reading this, that if this only happened to the so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, you should know that the people you were sold to are your enemies, man. And God got you sold unto them as a punishment, not for you to join them and to love them and to be kumbaya. This is a punishment. The fact that you are joined unto other people, that's a punishment, man. The fact that the white man dictates what goes on in your communities, that is a punishment. The fact that you speak his language, practice his culture and you're in his religions, that is a punishment from the Most High, man. That's the you're not that we're not in this position because we should just love everybody. This is a punishment from God, man. You know what I'm saying? So Christ is coming to teach us what we need to do in order to get right. So let's get some more history. Now we read about the prophecies. Let's get a little bit when it started to come to pass. Let me start with the split, right? Let's get 1 Kings 11 and 30.
Salaki.
Okay.
You said 1 Kings 11 and 30?
Khan, Baba Kashah. Go ahead.
Kind. The book of 1 Kings, chapter 11, verse 30.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And Ajah, that's how you said it, or Ajah?
Yeah. Ajah, yeah. It sounds so wild to me.
Kind of, sir.
Uh,
And Ajah caught the new garment that was on him and rent it into 12 pieces. And he said unto Jeroboam, take thee 10 pieces, for thus saith the Most High, the power of Israel. Behold, I will rend the kingdom out of thy hand of Solomon, and will give 10 tribes to thee.
right. So this is a prophecy that was given to Jeroboam, which was one of the what was he, a captain under Solomon? I think so, right? Jeroboam, who was a servant under Solomon. You know what I'm saying? He served under our King Solomon, but Solomon ended up breaking the commandments of the Most High and rebelled against him by joining himself onto the other nations, by marrying strange women and starting to serve their gods, right? So this prophet is giving a prophecy to Jeroboam, letting him know that the kingdom is going to be ripped away from Solomon's rule, right? And by it being ripped away, it is going to become split in two. All right, you're going to have 10 tribes for Jeroboam, and you're going to have the 2 tribes, or 2.5, we'll say, right, for Rehoboam, which is the son of Solomon. You know what I'm saying? This is what happened to us for not keeping the commandments of the Most High, right? So we just getting a brief history. Let me get chapter 12 and just start me at verse 3.
Kind of, sir. The book of 1 Kings, chapter 12, verse 3. Then they sent and called him, and Jeroboam and all the congregation of Israel came and spake unto Rehoboam, saying, thy father made our yoke grievous. Now, therefore, make thou the grievous service of thy father, and his heavy yoke which he put upon us lighter, and we will serve thee. Keep going, sir.
Khan Babu Shah.
Come. And he said unto them, depart yet for 3 days, then come again to me. and the people departed. And King Rehoboam consulted with the old men that stood before Solomon his father while he yet lived, and said, how do ye advise that I may answer
Right.
this people?
Right. So this is the children of Israel going up to the king, which is the son of Solomon, going up to the king Rehoboam, and asking him if he can, remove the yoke or the burden or the heavy taxation that their father placed upon his people. You know what I'm saying? And being that the king, he has power to do so, to remove this from the people, right? To have them, not being so under a heavy yoke, right? Or being heavily taxed for the labors. So we're overworking themselves just so they can gain anything, right? And he's going on to the elders that was before Solomon, that counseled Solomon, the time when he was in rulership, right? And we're going to read about the advice that the older men gave Rehoboam. Continue on.
And they spake and said unto him, saying, if thou wilt be, of verse 7, so like it, verse 7.
Mhm.
And they spake unto him, saying, if thou wilt be a servant unto this people this day, and wilt serve them, and answer them, and speak good words to them, they will, so like, then they will be thy servants forever.
All right.
But he
So
forsook.
if I could pause you there real quick, right? So he giving them, counsel in the spirit of brotherhood, right? If you advise these people, if you speak unto them, good words and helping them out, as a should, then these people will be joined unto you. It will keep us unified as a nation, right? So what we reading about the acts that took place that caused us to be divided as a nation, that caused us to be enemies towards one another, even though we're the same race or nation of people. We started to become divided as a nation. And this is the history of the Israelites. This is why Christ was telling them to love thy enemies, right? Read on.
But he forsook the counsel of the old men, which they had given him, and consulted with the young men that were grown up with him, and which stood before them, Salakia, which stood before him. And he said unto them, what counsel give ye that we may answer this people, who have spoken to me, saying, make thy yoke which thy father did put upon us lighter? And the young men that were grown up with him spake unto him, saying, thou shalt thou speak unto this people that spake unto thee, saying, thy father made our yoke heavy, but make it lighter unto us. Thus shalt thou say unto them, my little finger shall be thicker than my father's loins. And now whereas my father did lade ye with a heavy yoke, I will add to your yoke. My father hath chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions.
So what is he really saying? Basically, he's saying, I'm gonna make your burden more harder than my father made it for you. You know what I'm saying? My little finger that you can use to press upon is gonna be thicker than my loins. You know what I'm saying? Saying, nigga, you know how cats in New York love to insult each other. You know what I'm saying? The one phrase they love to say, you know what I'm saying? He's blatantly disrespecting the people in that manner. You dig what I'm saying? He's saying instead of whips, I'm gonna use scorpions. Meaning this burden, this yoke Father placed upon you, when it's my turn to rule, when I'm in rulership, it's gonna be 10 times harder for me. You know what I'm saying? So he rejected the counsel of the old man, one that counseled with Solomon, and listened to the counsel of the young men. You know what I'm saying? And answered the people with cruelty and with harshness, and that began a separation amongst us. Even beforehand, there have been plenty enemies amongst our own people, plenty wars and fights and conflict amongst our own people. It wasn't until the time of David that the 12 tribes of Israel became more unified as a nation. You know what I'm saying? David unified the 12 tribes of Israel. You know what I'm saying? And Solomon maintained that. But being that Solomon went off, conflict is starting to arise again. Trouble amongst our nation starting to rise again. We're starting to become enemies towards each other, right? And we're reading the beginning of that point in history when it happened to the 12 tribes of Israel, right? Jump me down to verse 14, Baba Kasha.
Khan Makan. And spake to them after the counsel of the young men, verse 14. And spake to them after the counsel of the young men, saying, My father made your yoke heavy, and I will add to your yoke. My father also chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions. Wherefore the king hearkened not unto the people, for the cause was from the Most High, that he might perform his saying, the Most High spake by Ajah the Salonite unto Jeroboam the son of Nebat.
Right, like we just read in 11 and 30. You know, this was prophesied that this will happen. You know what I'm saying? And this is how this prophecy is coming to pass. Right? Continue on.
Come, verse 16. So when all Israel saw that the kingdom hearkened, slacked. So when all Israel saw that the king hearkened not unto them, the people answered the king, saying, What portion have we in David? Neither have we inheritance in the son of Jesse. To your tents, O Israel. Now see to thine own house, David. So Israel departed unto their own tents. But as far, but as for the children of Israel, which dwelt in the cities of Judah, Rehoboam reigned over them.
Right. So we became divided. You know what I'm saying? We was divided as a nation, man. You had the nine tribes, the 10 tribes, you know what I'm saying, which is, you know, with Levi, well, half of Levi, a portion of Levi, Naphtali, Zebulon, Manasseh, Gad, Issachar, Simeon, who are Asher. You know what I'm saying? Those tribes started dealing with their own. Canuck. All right.
Slaggy, sir?
I might have missed some, you know what I'm saying? But that's a quick rundown of those tribes, right? And as far as with Judah, you know what I'm saying? It was with Judah, Levi, and Benjamin. They started only dealing amongst themselves as a separate nation. You know what I'm saying? So we became divided into two separate nations. No longer that we looked at each other as one. We started looking at each other as a separate people. You know what I'm saying? And through that, we went to multiple captivities that caused us to be more divided or more separated, caused us to be more enemies towards each other. All right, so let's get some more history on that then. Let's get 2 Kings. And let me get Second Kings. Start me at 17, verse 18.
Come, sir.
Go ahead.
The book of 2 Kings, chapter 17 and 18. 17, verse 18. Therefore, the Most High was very angry with Israel and removed them out of his sight. There was none left but the tribe of Judah only.
Right. Isn't that according to what we read in the prophecy? That how the Lord will separate us and scatter us. You know what I'm saying? Or the land he spoke of, we shall never see it again. Well, this is that prophecy starting to come to pass. You know what I'm saying? We still living in that prophecy. We're still being punished by the Most High till this day. Until we start to change ourselves and separate from these other nations and unify and start to love each other, we're going to continue to be destroyed in this place, man. The only way we're going to get redeemed if we turn to the Most High. Everything has failed, man. We done tried everything under the sun. You know what I'm saying? Everything, and nothing has worked. The only thing that will work is this book and this Bible right here. All right, so this is that prophecy that we read about, you know what I'm saying, that's going on in the history of Israel. We became divided as a nation, and then you had the 9.5 tribes going to captivity, and Judah was the only one that was left in that land. You know what I'm saying, in the land of Israel. Of course, you still had a good remnant of the other tribes still there, you know what I'm saying, but a good bulk of them went into captivity, right? Continue on.
Verse 19. Also Judah kept not his commandments. Also Judah kept not the commandments of the Most High power, but walked in the statutes of Israel which they made.
Right. So not even Judah kept the commandments. You know what I'm saying? The Lord was showing mercy by keeping Judah only. You know what I'm saying? But Israel broke the commandments. They went into captivity, and Judah also was breaking the commandments. You know what I'm saying? The Lord was showing mercy, you know what I'm saying, unto Judah. Right? Jump me down to verse 22.
Verse 22. For the children of Israel walked in all the sins of Jeroboam, which he did. They departed not from them. Salakia, sir. Oh, keep reading.
Bible shot, yeah, you go continue on.
Until the Most High removed Israel out of his sight, as he had said by all his servants, the prophets.
Mm-hmm.
So was Israel carried away out of their own land to Assyria unto this day.
Right. So you had the other tribes being carried away in captivity, being scattered, being brought under captivity, having their identity taken from them, their culture, their language, all these things was taken from them, and having them serve in captivity. You know what I'm saying? Having them serve in slavery. All right. Brother Praise Yahweh said, "We're in Florida. I'm in Orlando." Guess what? Praise Yahweh. I'm in Orlando as well. So is Officer Biyad, Officer Kawan, and Trooper Kanai. You know what I'm saying? We got officers and troopers here in Orlando. If y'all brothers can pull up the number real quick, and I'll type in the number that you can call so we can get you right, all right? I ain't got the number in front of me. I can just pull up the school number. Let me know what the number is, and I'll type it in the chat. All right, we got you. There's no sweat. We got you right now.
Salakia, sir.
Count, go ahead.
Tanakh got one on the flyer.
Yeah, it should be on the flyer.
Hold on, I got one in my book bag.
All right.
Got it.
So, like, sir, I got the number from
It's
the website.
Okay. Once again, go ahead. What you said?
I
The
got
one on the web. Oh, go ahead.
Salakia.
One second, Officer Kawan. What you say, Officer Javier?
No, I was saying I got the one from the school's website. That's the phone number you asking for, sir?
Yeah, it should be 600. I think
Yes.
like 561 600, something like that.
Kind 561 600 8875.
8875. And that was the same one you had, right? Oscar one.
Another one come.
All right. So, Duada, I can appreciate that. So the number, let me see if I can type it in. Bubbly. Unless your brothers got a way to type it in. Unfortunately, I don't have the way to type it in on my phone. But the number is 561-600-8875. All right. Call that number if you're sincere in serving the Most High. You know what I'm saying? Because we definitely have brothers here that can help you out. Tend with your needs also. Any problem that you may have, you know what I'm saying? We can definitely help you out. All right. No sweat word. All right. Most High in Christ. All right. The water Akim. So let's continue on with the. We was at verse 24.
Come, sir. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon and from Cuthia and from Ava and from Hamath and from Sepharvaim. Shepharvaim. I don't know what this.
Yeah, it's all good. See.
And placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel. And they possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities thereof.
All right. So we was getting expelled out of our own land and being kicked out of our own land. And the king of Assyria started bringing these other nations in and mixing them up amongst the children of Israel. You know what I'm saying? That's why in the time of Christ, you have, some of the tribes of Israel being referred to as Gentiles. Not because they're of another nation or another race. They're still Israelites, depending on the context. But they was practicing the cultures of the other nations. It was practicing the ways of the heathens. You know what I'm saying? Being scattered mostly in their land and even in our land. You know what I'm saying? Having a mix among us. You know what I'm saying? Even with the proverb of the parable of the Good Samaritan. You know what I'm saying? That parable was given so we can unify as a nation. So we can learn how to mend our differences and come together and not be divided into two. All right. So this is a brief history showing you that we became divided, and in us being divided, we started to become enemies towards one another and joining these other nations. Right. So the other tribes was in captivity, and then you had Judah on the land as well. So just drop that for time's sake. You know what I'm saying? If y'all want to continue read on at home, 17 will give you the history on that split. You know what I'm saying? And also how the other 9.5 tribes went to captivity. Right? So let me get Isaiah 11 and 13.
Khan.
Go ahead.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 11, verse 13. The envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim.
Right. We was enemies, man. We were enemies unto each other. We vexed one another. Until this day, we are continuing to be enemies to each other. You know what I'm saying? Till this day, we're following these other nations, going into their religions, following their gods, and we continue to hate for one another, for each other. We look at each other as two separate people when we're really the same. We're really one nation. You know what I'm saying? But a black man looks at a Hispanic man like he's not his brother. He look at the Hispanic man as more of an enemy unto him than he does the white man, who's really your enemy. Because a Mexican man ain't never put you in chains. He ain't never hung you on trees. He ain't never discriminate against you and segregated you in your own neighborhoods and put you in poverty. He ain't never did that until your oppressor did. The so-called white man oppressed you, and he's oppressing you till this day, man. And you got to understand that is your enemy. You know what I'm saying? But the children of Israel, because we broke the commandments of the Most High, we are scattered and divided, and we don't even know who we are. We don't even know who our brothers are. You know what I'm saying? You lost your identity. It's time to come back to your identity and learn your culture again. Learn who your brothers are. Learn who who you should give your love to. Learn who you should be forgiving and loving, man. You know what I'm saying? And it's not talking about these other nations, right? Any more on that on Isaiah?
Stop.
All right, let me get Ezekiel 36 and 19. Baruch.
Con out of one con.
All right, go ahead. Oh, the brother got kicked off. Somebody got it.
Ezekiel 36 and 19, sir.
Baruch. You there, come on?
Con out of one con. So like I hit the back, but
Right. No sweat words. You go ahead, Officer Labiat.
Con. Ezekiel chapter 36, verse 19. And I scattered them among the heathen, and they were dispersed through the countries. According to their way and according to their doings, I judged them.
Right. The Lord scattered us like he prophesied he would. Like he told us in the time of Moses. You know what I'm saying? That he would scatter us amongst the heathens, among these other nations. All right. We started living among them and adopting their culture. So you had one tribe, you know what I'm saying, the Jews, looking at the Ephraimites as a Roman or as a Greek baby. You know what I'm saying? Because they started adopting the ways of the heathens, man. You know what I'm saying? And they became enemies throughout this Bible. Throughout this whole history of this Bible, from First Kings, Second Kings, we was enemies as a nation, man. You know what I'm saying? The 12 tribes became enemies to each other when the Lord commanded us that we should love each other, man. Right? Let me get 37 and 16. Same book.
Con.
Go ahead.
Con, the book of Ezekiel, chapter 37, verse 16. Moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions.
All right, let's pause right there. All right, who is this talking about? Right? You getting two sticks. Remember the history we just broke down. Who is Judah and his companions?
Salaki, sir.
Go ahead.
Israel is the 9 other tribes, or the 10 other tribes, and Judah are the other 2 tribes.
Right. Or you could say 3, right? Including
3.
Levi. You know what I'm saying? And the priest. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's correct. The 2 sticks represent us, the 2 nations being split into 2. You know what I'm saying? As one, we're known as the 12 tribes of Israel. Right? But like we read in 1 Kings 11 and 30, we became divided due to the sin that Solomon committed against the Most High. You know what I'm saying? And from there, we was considered 2 nations. Right? You had Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. That was known as the house of Judah, or which is also referred to in the Bible as the southern kingdom. Right? And then you have Israel and Ephraim and all the other tribes which is also referred to as the house of Ephraim or the northern kingdom in the Bible. All right, this is what we're reading about. Read on. Whoever's reading.
Salaki, sir, can you hear me?
Con, I hear you now.
Like, I'm having technical difficulties over here. Difficulties. For Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel, his companions, and join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand.
Right. What was the whole point of joining them together? Common sense will tell you what. Go ahead.
They were separated.
Thank you. They were separated. You know what I'm saying? There was not one. There was not moving as one nation. You know what I'm saying? Serving the Most High. It was both on completely separate things. It was both divided. Both became enemies to each other. You know what I'm saying? And this is a prophecy that Ezekiel is given. That's what's going to happen to the 12 tribes of Israel. This is the prophecy that we laying down right now here in the Isupk. You know what I'm saying? Get a Lord in for that. You know what I'm saying? We are fulfilling what our king came to do. Our king came to unify the 12 tribes, man. And nobody can separate that. You know what I'm saying? Nobody can come against that, man. You know what I'm saying? It's about damn time that we start to understand who we are as a people, man. And the only way we can fix that if we unify. We got to come back together as a nation and realize who your brothers is and who your enemy is. This is the tool that can be used to mend our differences so we become one nation again. All right? Let's continue on, Ward.
Another one, sir. Verse 17, Salaki, verse
You at 18.
18, verse 18. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these?
Mm-hmm.
Say unto them, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will make the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in my hand.
Oh, son of Christ.
I'm right. Verse 20, and the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thine hand before their eyes. And say unto them, thus saith the Lord the Most High, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whither they be gone, and will gather them on every side, and bring them into their own land. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king to them all. And they shall be no more two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms any more at all.
They shall be no more two nations, no more two kingdoms, but the Lord is going to unify the 12 tribes of Israel, which is you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. And you're going to be unified under one king. Who is that one king Ezekiel is prophesying about?
Salaka, sir.
Go ahead.
Yahushua.
Right. This is talking about Yahushua. He is the king over the 12 tribes of Israel. You know what I'm saying? And we are unifying because Yahushua commanded us to unify. There is no such thing as Negroes only, Hispanics only, Israelites. That term alone, Northern Kingdom, Southern Kingdom, should be discontinued amongst Israelites. All right? That term we should know by now does not exist amongst the 12 tribes of Israel. There is no more Northern Kingdom and Southern Kingdom, at least in the Isupk. You know what I'm saying? Only if you're using it as a reference, of course. But those terms is obsolete now that our king taught us how to unify. Right? So this is a prophecy talking about the children of Israel. And this one king, Christ, who the world, Yahweh Shai Mashiach, who the world knows as Jesus Christ, is come to be a king and unify them. So let's go and read about Christ and see if that's what Christ came to do. Right? The Christian church would say Christ came to unify the whole world and bring all nations into one big rainbow, and we should love everybody. Let's get Luke chapter 1, verse 67.
Con out of one con.
You go ahead.
Go ahead, sir.
Come, Baba Kasha.
The book of Luke, chapter 1, verse 67. And the father Zacharias was filled with the Holy Spirit and prophesied, saying, Blessed be the Lord power of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people.
He redeemed who?
Visited and redeemed his people.
The God of Israel came to redeem his people. So who is that talking about? Who would his people be?
Slogan, sir.
Go ahead.
The nation of Israel.
The name is right in front of our face, ain't it, Kawan?
Con out of one con.
It's written right there. How did your pastor miss that, man? Or is he blatantly not wanting to teach you this? Does he has an agenda that he has to follow behind? Right? These are the questions. Damn right. It's the questions that we got to ask ourselves as a people while we sitting in that Christian church, man. What are you really gaining from sitting there, man? They are not teaching you how to unify, and even in your own neighborhood. Even in your own neighborhood, they don't help out with the gang violence, with the criminal activity. They tell them to call the police on you when they're supposed to be the leaders and making sure that the violence stop in the neighborhood. They don't even help out with you getting a job. They promote you to be a whore and to be a drug dealer. Tell you to bring that money in so they can wash it with the blood of Jesus and make it holy again. They don't even teach us how to get right in our own community, man. They done failed us over and over again. They done failed us, man. Well, this is how we get it right. By separating from our enemies. And start to hate our enemies, man. And love each other, right? Let's continue on.
Going out of one con. Verse 69. And hath raised up an horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David.
Right. What was the tribe of David?
Tribe of Judah, sir.
And what would the tribe of Judah be considered?
Israel, sir.
Israel. This is only talking about Israel, man. And Zacharias, being filled with the Holy Spirit, is saying this unto the parents of Jesus Christ. He's saying this unto them. While Mary is pregnant and everything, you know what I'm saying? The Spirit is put upon him to tell him this about Yahushua. Read on.
God, sir. Verse 70. And he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began, that we should be saved from our enemies.
From who?
From our enemies.
From who?
From our enemies.
Hold on now. So you mean to tell me that Christ disobeyed?
La, sir.
La, Christ ain't never sinned against the Most High, right?
Khan.
So why would he do something that's against the Holy Spirit? Is he saying here that he came to save us from our enemies, but Christ is saying, love your enemies? Wouldn't that be a contradiction?
La, sir. Two different enemies.
Thank you. Thank you. It's two different enemies that it's talking about. Your brother is not your enemy, man. A so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian is not your enemy. The children of Israel, we should not have enemies among each other. But these other nations, the Romans at this time of Christ, Greeks, the Chinese, Africans, and every other nation that's not of the 12 tribes of Israel is your enemy, man. And that's who you need to be saved from. You need justice from what's going on at the hands of your oppressor. You need salvation from these other nations robbing you dry in your own block, in your own community. You the one that needs salvation from these other nations. They the ones that they got the damn Jewish man got iron domes for missiles that's coming in this country, man. Meanwhile, we can't even stop crack from coming in the neighborhood. But this Jewish man got a whole invisible dome or whatever is going on that could stop a whole damn missile from bombing and hitting across his head. And meanwhile, these other nations is taking over our own blocks, our own community, man. You the one that needs salvation. So Christ came to give salvation, not to everybody, because the Jewish man got it from America, the $300 billion a year. Every other nation has an army, has a government. But Christ came to give salvation only to the 12 tribes of Israel. You know why? At this time, we was under the Roman occupation. And we was scattered. And we was enemies to each other. And we was destroyed and in poverty. So Christ came to give us salvation from those that hate us and those that's our enemies. Right? And anything y'all brothers want to add, y'all can go ahead and add. You know what I'm saying? Feel free to add. Feel free to add, Baba Kashab. All right. So let's continue on, word.
Kind of the one card, sir. That we should be saved from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us, to perform the mercy promised to our fathers, and to remember his holy covenant, the oath which he sware to our fathers Abraham, that he would grant us unto us, that we, being delivered out of the hand of our enemies, might serve him without fear.
Right. This is the hope that we want, coming back to the Most High, from him delivering us from those that hate us, from our enemies, from those that's out there seeking to destroy us, devour us as a nation. This is what we hope for. I'm saying we the ones that need help right now. And you're not going to get help from marching, begging, and appeasing your oppressor. From seeking love and the validation of your oppressor. You're not going to get salvation from that. White man can't even give you a damn stimulus check to keep your lights on during a pandemic. You had to march and beg and hope that he will pay you a little amount of money just so you can get groceries and your lights on during a whole global pandemic. There's no way you can get salvation nor any justice from an unjust beast, man. You know what I'm saying? The only way you're going to get salvation is to turn back to the Most High. And that was Christ's mission. That's what he was sent on this earth to do. To get the children of Israel delivered from their enemies by getting them to turn back to the Most High. By teaching them how to love their brother as themselves. Teaching them how to love their enemies. Cats that's on their own block that hate each other. Brothers to this day that will shoot each other over colors. He got on red, he got on blue. I'm going to shoot him. You got brothers that will shoot you and destroy each other over simply stepping on the shoe. A brother can become an enemy to another brother as something as simple as stepping on his sneakers, man. That's what's going on amongst us, man. We the ones that need this word that's written of in this book. We the ones that need this understanding, man. Because we the ones that's being affected by it the most. So Christ only came for the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians in the ghettos, in the barrios, in the reservations, that's scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, man. Christ did not come from nobody else. Right? Let's get some more on that. Let's Matthew 15. And verse I want, 15 and 24. So you tell me up some. 15. To 21.
All right, Con, sir. I did let one of the other brothers read, but I got it.
All right.
Book of Matthew. Go ahead, sir.
Kyle, you go ahead.
Con, the one Con. The book of Matthew, chapter 15, verse 21. Then Yahushua went thence and departed into the coast of Tyre and Zidon. And behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coast and cried unto him, saying, Have mercy on me, O Lord, thou son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with the devil.
Right. So this is a woman of another nation that came unto Christ, being a Jew, and asked him for a blessing. You know what I'm saying? The nation that this woman comes from was a so-called Greek, a Edomite, white woman. Coming unto a black man, asking for some type of blessing for her daughter to be delivered from her demons or the devil that's trying to attack her or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And we don't see the response of our king. Let's see if Christ is willing to help this person, or is he hesitant and resistant in helping this person that's of another nation. Right? Read on.
Con, the one Con, sir. But he answered her not a word.
But he did what?
But he answered her not a word.
He straight up ignored this woman. Read on.
And his disciples came and besought him, saying, Send her away, for she crieth after us.
Right. She kept begging them. Even the disciples got bothered by this woman. Was like, we got to send her away. You know what I'm saying? Read on.
Con, the one Con. Verse 24. But he answered and said,
Now he finally given his response now. He's finally responded back to that woman. Read on.
But I am not sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
He is sent only to who?
Unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
That's who Christ came for, man. So when Christ was on the streets teaching in the cities like Tyre and Zidon, you know what I'm saying? He was in those cities only teaching the 12 tribes of Israel. His mission on this earth was only to raise up and redeem the 12 tribes of Israel from their enemies. So when he says certain things like love thy enemies, he's only speaking to one people. He's not speaking to everybody. He's talking about the enemies that was created from us being divided. The enemies that has been created from us being separate through language, through the white man's philosophy, through religion. Christ can do away with these things so we can be unified, or at least teach us how to do it with these things so we can be unified. That's what Christ's mission was to do. And he straight up ignored this white woman. And when he finally answered it, he told her he is not sent, but only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Read on.
Con, one Con. Verse 25. Then came she and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. But he answered and said, It is not meet to take the children's bread and cast it to dogs.
Hold on now. Somebody break this down. What is Christ saying to this woman?
Salaga, sir.
Go ahead.
He's saying that what he came to do is not for anybody but the nation of Israel, and it wouldn't be good to give it to those that are lower class or less than the nation of Israel.
Damn right. And what's the word that Christ used to refer
Well,
to?
Call that ass a dog.
A damn dog, man. These other nations are dogs in the eyes of the Most High, and Christ called them a dog. They're beneath you. You know what I'm saying? He didn't come to teach them and to give them his love or to give them salvation or give them the blessings of the Most High. That's not what Christ came to do. He only came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And everybody else, they only get the crumbs. You know what I'm saying? Because he's not giving the blessings or the food unto these other nations, right? You know what I'm saying? Christ only came for his people, right? Let's drop that for time's sake. Let's get John 11:54. So when Christ is out teaching and healing, teaching the gospel, he's only doing it for the 12 tribes of Israel. You know what I'm saying? We're going to read also the cities that Christ went into also. You know what I'm saying? The certain areas that Christ went into was the areas where Israel was dwelling at, right? Get John 11:54. Baba Kashah.
Sir.
You got it.
The book of John, chapter 11, verse 54. Yahweh shall therefore walk no more openly among the Jews, but went thence into a country near Salakia.
I know, so take
But
your time.
went, Yahweh shall therefore walk no more openly amongst the Jews, but went thence unto a country near to the wilderness, into a city called Ephraim.
Into the city called what?
Ephraim.
All right. What is Ephraim? What is Ephraim known as in the Bible?
Salakia.
Go ahead.
That is a tribe of the 12 tribes.
Right. It's a tribe of the 12 tribes of Israel. You know what I'm saying? And this is the city that Christ went to teach. He went and taught the Ephraimites. He didn't go, it didn't say a city called Asia or a city called Africa, whoever. You know what I'm saying? These cities that he went to was filled with Israelites, man. And that's the only people that he was teaching. Right? Let's get Matthew 4:13.
The
Go ahead.
book of Matthew, chapter 4, verse 13. And leaving Nazareth, he came and dwelled in Capernaum, which is upon the sea coast, in the borders of Zebulun and Naphtali.
And where?
In the borders of Zebulun and Naphtali,
Read on.
that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by Isaiah the prophet, saying,
Right. Who's Isaiah? Who's that talking about?
Isaiah,
Isaiah. So this is written of in the Bible. Read on.
Son Khan, the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, by the way of the sea, beyond Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. The people which sat in darkness saw great light, and to them which sat in the region and shadow of death, light is sprung up.
Right. Read on.
From that time, Yahweh began to preach and to say, repent,
To
for
do
the
what?
kingdom, to repent,
Read on.
for the kingdom of heaven is at hand.
So who was Christ teaching here?
So like I said, what did you say?
Who was Christ teaching here?
Israelites,
Right. What was the two tribes that he listed?
Naphtali and Zebulun.
Right. Which is the tribe of Israel. Once again, is another tribe of Israel that Christ went and taught, preaching the kingdom of heaven is at hand. He did not preach this to everybody on the earth. He only came for the 12 tribes of Israel, man. He only came for his people. And that's who he taught to love their enemies. He taught us to love the enemies amongst us, not the other nations. The problems that we have with each other. The fact that we have gangs and, brothers hating on another brother over money and all these other stuff that we fight over in our neighborhoods. Christ came to teach us who our true enemies are. You know what I'm saying? He taught us who really was our enemies, man. And that's what can unify us as a nation. That's what can unify us as a nation, man. Because Christ is not going to come and give salvation to all the nations on the earth. When Christ returns, he's not going to come and show love to our oppressor. No matter how much you cry for them and brush their hair in the courthouse and tell them you forgive them and march and beg for them, Christ is coming to bring destruction unto them, man. You know why? For the crimes that they committed against you. The crimes that they committed against so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Let me get Luke 19:27.
Colonel Khan.
Go ahead.
Luke chapter 19, verse 27. But those mine enemies.
But who?
Mine enemies.
Read on.
Which would not that I should reign over them. Bring hither and slay them before me.
Hold on now. Is that Christ saying that?
Kind of what kind?
Good night. That's not the Christ that they taught us in the church, is it? I thought he was all loving and kumbaya and holding hands. Well, Christ is saying out his own mouth, right? Those my enemies, saying that wish I have not me, reigning over them, bring them hither and slay them before me. Guess what? Christ had enemies, man. Until this day, he still got enemies. And if you're in the Christian church, you are an enemy of Christ. If you're in the Muslim mosque, you're an enemy of Christ. If you join yourself unto your oppressor, you are an enemy of Christ, man. And when he comes back, he's not coming to kiss everybody, to hug everybody, to hold hands. He's coming back and to judge this earth, man. And put those to death that oppose him. That's what our king is coming back to do, man. Because guess what? Christ don't love the enemies of the other nation, man. He don't love them. He don't love your so-called oppressor. God doesn't love your oppressor, man. God only loved and chose the 12 tribes of Israel. That's why Christ died for them, man. Isn't that what's written in John 3:16? Well, guess what? If we just read, he went to the city of Ephraim, the city of Zebulon, the city of Naphtali, and he only came for his people, who is John 3:16 written for then? Who want to give me that answer? Help me out, y'all. Who's that written for?
It's written for Israel.
For Israel, man. So he can unify the 12 tribes of Israel, man. Because God only loves Israelites. He don't love everybody on this earth. And guess what? When he going to send back our king, Yahushua, and all his enemies are going to be put to death. And they're going to be put in captivity to serve under us. A black man from the tribe of Judah named Jesus Christ. He's going to rule this earth, man. You know what I'm saying? And he going to unify the 12 tribes of Israel. Let me get Ecclesiasticus 12:10. Baba Kasha. All right. We're getting a breakdown on loving thy enemies, man. You got to understand your oppressor is your enemy, and he don't deserve your love. He has oppressed you for over 400 years, and he does not deserve your love. But the brother that's destroyed on crack, in poverty in the ghetto with you, he deserves your love. He deserves your opportunity at your love. That sister on that stripper pole, you know what I'm saying, that's pop killing herself through Molly, she really needs love, man. She don't need dollars thrown at her. That's not love. She needs somebody to correct her. That's love. You know what I'm saying? We need rules and regulations to put us in check and put us in place so we can get out of this oppression. And you're not going to get it by loving the so-called white man, because that is your enemy. You know what I'm saying? But the enemies amongst us, we got to love. So whoever got that could read for me, Warrior.
So like Ecclesiasticus, so like chapter 12, verse 10. Never trust thine enemy,
Mm-hmm.
for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness.
Right. Meaning it's not going to go away. No matter how much you think your enemy is going to one day love you, you know what I'm saying, and join hands with you, it will never go away. His hatred for you will never go away. It's 2021, you know what I'm saying, and they try to do simple things just to appease black people. You know what I'm saying? 2021, and you still getting shot in the streets. And the only thing they try to do to make it right or to make it justifiable is to give you some holiday called Juneteenth. Make Juneteenth a federal holiday. When he been showing hatred towards you for 400 years, you know what I'm saying? And now he want to turn around and give you a little trinket like Juneteenth. And even the history behind Juneteenth, they don't even teach that. But yet they teach you that you should celebrate that day. Meanwhile, you were still a slave for what, 3 years until they finally told you that you was finally free. You know what I'm saying? Juneteenth has never done nothing. Our oppressor has never done nothing to show that he loved you. Because like his iron rust, so does his wickedness, man. He always got a trick up his sleeve to destroy blacks, Hispanics, and Native. So you should never trust him, man. Read on.
Verse 11. Though he humble himself.
Though he what?
Humble himself.
Juneteenth.
Humble himself.
Stimulus checks.
Humble himself.
Read on.
And go crouching. Yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass.
Mm-hmm.
And thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away.
Right. A looking glass is talking about a mirror. In order for you to properly see your reflection, you better make sure that mirror is clean. You know what I'm saying? You wipe it away. That way, you wipe away whatever dirt on there. That way, you can better see your reflection. You know what I'm saying? Well, there's no different from the hatred and the cruelty that the so-called white man has for the 12 tribes of Israel, man. No matter what he does, it will never be sincere, man. He signed over 100 peace treaties with the Native Indians. More than 100. This is documented in American history. Signed over more than 100 peace treaties with the Native Indians. And guess how many he kept? Help me out, Lobby. How much he kept?
Zero.
And look at the Native Indians today in the reservations, man. Barely got running water in those damn reservations. No electricity in them reservations, man. Dying of alcoholism and poverty, you know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, this land belonged to them. You know why? We should have never trusted our enemies, man. We should have never trusted these other nations. Those that put us in captivity. Those that scattered us and put us on those slave ships. Those are the people that deserve your hatred. You know what I'm saying? And now you ain't got to hate them by picking up a gun. You ain't got to hate them by going in their neighborhood and beating them with a baseball bat and burning their houses down. That's not how you show them hate. It's simple. Just do it how our King told us to do it. It's to separate, man. It's to stop going inside a Christian church. Stop voting. Stop pledging your allegiance to American flag. Stop believing in their philosophies. Celebrating their holidays. That's the one effective way that you can show that you're not infatuated or in love with our oppressor. That you hate the crimes that has been committed against so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Because that is more effective than picking up a gun. If we stop celebrating Christmas, you know how much money the white man gonna lose? How much of his economics is gonna go down? If we stop celebrating Father's Day and Mother's Day, all these other holidays, you know how much money the white man gonna lose? If we just join each other, shopped in our own stores, our own businesses, treating each other more right and more respect, that will show a more threat unto your oppressor than anything on this earth. He hates to see niggas and Hispanics, you know what I'm saying, and so-called Native Indians unified. That's what the oppressor is afraid of. Well, we can't unify if we're joining them, man. We can't unify if we gangbanging on each other. We can't unify if we selling drugs to each other. If we shooting each other down. It's time for we try something new, man. Because that is the American way. We learned that from America, man. We learned to be cruel and hatred towards each other from our oppressor. It's time we actually pick up this book and read what it really says for us to do. And that does not include loving everybody on this earth.
So like it, sir.
Go ahead, Soldier.
If I may.
Mm-hmm.
And just to add to your point, even with the Juneteenth celebration, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know that the oppressor don't really give a damn about when the slaves was free.
Right.
He don't really care about that. But what he's doing is just basically he's taking that Juneteenth and making it to where he's going to make money off of it.
God.
I've been around some devils today, and they were saying things like, "We ain't even heard about Juneteenth." Now we haven't going to the festivals last few years. The Juneteenth they've been doing down here in Florida.
Right.
These is devils down here that stay in Florida. They never even heard of it. But now, since they made it this national thing, now I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing, just like we see 4th of July holiday sales. Now you're gonna see Juneteenth sales,
Man.
and that's gonna cause niggas to come out and spend their money buying fireworks and all type of T-shirts and all type of stuff. So it's not even about, he just merchandised our pain. That's what he did.
Damn right.
What happened? So
damn right. Con, now that's heavy because General Hyman was just talking about the same thing too. You know what I'm saying? They merchandise our pain, like the brother said, like they do with our music, like they do with our movies. They make money off of you just being a silly, goose or silly duck, a dumbass. I'm gonna just say plain and simple, man. For being a dumbass, man. You know what I'm saying? The white man takes advantage of our vulnerability, man. It's time that we regain our strength and realize there is power in joining the Most High. There's power in returning unto the Most High. You're not going to get power by joining your oppressor. The Bible just said, never trust your enemies. The enemies are the people of the other nations, man. The heathens. The one that the Lord did not choose, man. That's the people that you should consider your enemies. Right? But amongst Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, we should not be enemies, man. And we're going to read how Christ, our King, told us how we can mend those differences and make things more better for each other. Let's jump back to Matthew 5 and 54. Not 54, 43. Matthew 5 and 43.
Kind. Matthew chapter 5 verse 43. Ye have heard that it hath been said, Thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy.
Right. Like it's written in the scriptures. Neighbor is who? Who's the neighbor talking about?
Israel, your brothers and sisters.
Right. Israel, your brothers and sisters. Like it's written in the law. Read on.
Verse 44. But I say unto you, love your enemies.
To do what?
Love your enemies.
So if the neighbor is talking about Israel, who is the enemies talking about?
So like I said,
Go ahead.
your enemies. I mean, your Israel.
Right. Your own nation. You know what I'm saying? We just gave you the history breakdown and all the punishments that's talking about how we became divided, how we became enemies to each other. Now, all the way up to the time of Christ, we were divided, man. We was enemies. We looked at each other like two separate people. Well, Christ is saying out of the law that we should love our enemies, man. The people of your own nation. Your brothers, man. So-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. This is what we got to do in order to better our situation. We need brotherhood. We need sisterhood. We need to unify as a nation, or else we're going to continue to be destroyed. Everything that's written in this book hinge on one thing, and that is brotherhood. Brotherhood can mend the problems that we face in our communities, man. Economically, you know what I'm saying? Socially, all these things that we go through with poverty, with drug abuse, whoredom, you know what I'm saying? Everything that's plaguing us in our communities, if we just apply our mind to brotherhood, that can help us out, man. If we can just apply our mind to love thy brother as ourselves, we will be in far better predicament than we in right now. You know what I'm saying? Because getting money and marching and being wealthy and joining with the oppressor is not going to work. Let's do how Christ said to do it. Right? Let's continue on.
Verse 44. But I say unto you, love your enemies. Bless them that curse you. Do good to them that hate you. And pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you.
Right. You know what I'm saying? This is what need to be said in our hoods, man. You know what I'm saying? We rap about stuff like this. Right? If you ain't got no haters, you ain't popping. Who you think that hater he's talking to? He ain't talking about his oppressor. You know what I'm saying? He's talking about the cat that's on the next block next to him. Shooting down my ops or I smoke. All of these songs we rap about, man. Because we know we got enemies amongst each other. You know what I'm saying? Well, Christ is letting you know that we got to get rid of that. That we should love our enemies, man. You should forgive your brother if he caused any harm to you. You should give that brother a second chance or opportunity to make things right. You should give him the benefit of the doubt. You should treat him with respect. You know what I'm saying? And dignity, man. And you should treat him how you want to be treated. It's simple as that, man. Because guess what? We do it to our oppressor all day, every day. He shoot us in the street and you willing to forgive him at a drop of a dime. No matter what our oppressor does to you, you dare behind his back. You know what I'm saying? Salakia, you know. You praising him up. You know what I'm saying? I want to say something else, but you know, I'm gonna say PG-13 stuff. You know what I'm saying? You riding him all day, every day because you think that's gonna benefit you in America, man. This is not what the Lord called us to be. He called us to be rulers on earth, not servants. And we need to unify as a nation, man. So if you have maybe didn't understand that your enemy was talking about the people of your own nation, well, here's your second opportunity, man. Because guess what? Well, the Most High gave you an opportunity for you to learn His truth, for you to come back and learn your identity. He forgave you for your sins, man. So forgive your brother for his transgressions that he committed against you. Right? Let's continue on.
Verse 45, Matthew chapter 5, verse 45. That ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. For he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust.
Right. This is what the Lord does, man. You know what I'm saying? He has no respect of persons. We shouldn't have none, man. You know what I'm saying? Read on.
Verse 46. For if ye love them which love you, what reward have ye? Do not even the publicans the same?
Right. What is this talking about? Who can break this down a bit? Christ is trying to teach the children of Israel, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Indians, how we should love your enemies. You know what I'm saying? What should you do in loving your enemies? The enemies of your own race. Right? What does that mean? What are you talking about? If you love them that only love you, what reward have ye? You know what I'm saying? Because publicans do the same. First, let me ask this then. What is a publican?
So like it, sir.
Go ahead.
Would it be like a politician or a
Con.
senator?
Con, yeah. Right. I'll take a politician, right? Somebody that works for the government, right? At that time, the publicans were somebody who collect the taxes from the people. You know what I'm saying? Well, today time, you know, this is more modern. You either pay your taxes through anything you purchase in, or you can do it manually by, you know, your income tax and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? But back then, somebody that knocked on your door so they can get your taxes from you. You know what I'm saying? And anybody knows, don't know Negro like a bill collector. No Negro like the tax man. Nobody like anybody calling their phone 24/7 trying to collect that. So of course he's gonna be looked at as the hated. You know what I'm saying? Or as the enemy of the people because he works for the government. He's collecting the funds for the government. You know what I'm saying? Well, those people we would consider as sinners or wicked. You know what I'm saying? Well, Christ is letting you know, don't only love those that love you. There is no benefit in that. You know what I'm saying? The only benefit that you should truly show, you know what I'm saying, and sincerity that you truly love your people is loving another black man or Hispanic man, Native Indian man that you never met before. And just because he come from a separate hood from you, you know what I'm saying, doesn't mean he should be your enemy. Just because he comes from a different background or a different walk of life, you know what I'm saying, doesn't mean he should be your enemy. Just because he speaks Spanish or Portuguese or Creole or all these different languages doesn't mean he should be your enemy, man. You know what I'm saying? Because these publicans, these politicians, they only love those they can benefit from. They only love them that love people that love them. You know what I'm saying? They only out there on the protest or speaking on your behalf because they know that there's a check involved in it. Don't be a hypocrite in doing that, man. Be sincere in loving your people, even if you don't even know this cat. Right? Read on.
Verse 47. And if ye salute your brethren only, what do you more than the others? Do not even the publicans so?
All right. Another example. You know what I'm saying? You only friendly and not friendly, but you only greet those that you familiar with. You know what I'm saying? Or the posse and the crew that you know. But another crew you got a problem with because the neighborhood that he grew up on. You know what I'm saying? Well, imagine how strong of a team of a posse or a crew if y'all unified. Y'all can take over that whole city. Y'all just learn how to eat together, man. Instead of looking at each other as a benefit or see what you can gain from each other. You know what I'm saying? Because the Lord has no respect of a person. He don't look as the one block better than the niggas in the other block. We all in captivity. We're all destroyed. You know what I'm saying? So what we all got to do is repent and start to forgive each other. You know what I'm saying? Because the Most High forgave us and gave us a second chance, right? Let's finish it out with the last verse, 48, Baba Kashar.
Verse 48. Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect.
Right. You want to reach perfection? You want to be considered a child of the Most High? You want to be what they call in the church saved and holy and all that stuff? You know what I'm saying? The only way you're going to achieve that status is if you love your enemies, man. If you love your brother as yourself. Not by you loving your oppressor, not by the wealth and the Rolls Royce that you drive, or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? Perfection is loving our brother as ourselves and keeping commandments, man. Anything y'all warriors want to add? Y'all can go ahead, man. I can go ahead and add anything.
Salakia, sir.
Go ahead, Soldier.
I just wanted to touch on the point that you was bringing out too, how our people, how, you know, we love, you know what I'm saying, the oppressor so much.
Mm-hmm.
We forgive when we bring up how the oppressor dropped the drugs in our community. We always forgive that. We forgive and overlook that he dropped the drugs in the community. We
Mm-hmm.
overlook when we say he had us in chains. All the things we did, you have black people saying, oh, it was so long ago, we need to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
However, when they dropped the drugs in the community, that tore apart the fabric, the very fabric of brotherhood that we had.
Damn
My
right.
parents, my mother, my uncles and aunts would tell me about a time where you could leave your door open in the black community. You could go to sleep and your door was open because you didn't worry about nobody stealing. You didn't worry about nobody breaking in. But when they dropped them drugs in the community and the people that got addicted to them, it caused us not to trust each other because
Right.
now this person wanted this fix so bad, he was willing to break in your home. So now we lock our doors. Now when we see each other, we grim at each other because we don't know if this person gonna try to stick me up because you know he wants some more drugs or whatever.
Damn right.
But we'll overlook that, overlook our uncles and stuff like that and aunts who got drug addiction and not love them. We'll overlook that. You know, we won't overlook that. We'll hold them to that. You know, they was on drugs 20 years ago, and we still hold them to that. But when you bring up that the oppressor dropped these drugs, oh, that was so long ago. We need to move forward. We need to forgive and let it go. But we don't ever let it go when it's dealing with us. Never. We hold that to the grave. I just
to
want
the
to
grave. That's heavy. God damn, your brother head. That is heavy, man. You know what I'm saying? Like they even stuff like where aunties battling, don't even, you know, greet each other at the family reunion and stuff like that, holding grudges till they grave, man. That is very, very true, man. You know what I'm saying? And all that selfishness and that, you know, mentality of loving yourself all comes from the Christian church, man. All of that comes from the Christian church, teaching you how to love your oppressor and saying that's all back then and, you know, we should forget about it. I'm saying, why don't you forget about the hurt that a nigga caused you, man? Forget about the hurt that a so-called Hispanic caused you. Forget about that, man. I don't care if it was 10 minutes ago. That should be considered a long time ago. You know what I'm saying? You should give that brother a benefit of the doubt. You know what I'm saying? Give him your zeal of love to your brother and your sisters more than you give to our oppressor. Because they deserve it. Like a lot of y'all said, they the ones on drugs. Ain't nobody building them damn health clinic. No damn rehab center so they can get off of drugs. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's condemning that drug dealer and telling them not to sell drugs. Because that's what true love is. We need each other in order to survive in this hellhole. You know what I'm saying? So damn right, boy. Anything you want to add or any other brother?
Nah, sir, I'm too
All right, y'all. We're going to go ahead and end the class. The water Akim for hopping on board. Brother Praise you, Howard. Don't waste time, man. You better call that number. You know what I'm saying? At the water, everybody in the chat. Cap will be back on tomorrow. So make sure y'all tune in. Hit the subscribe button. Like, share this, John. You know what I'm saying? So we can spread this truth, man. All right. So with that, we'll go ahead and say shalom, y'all. All right.